Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 30NSG. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about PlayStation is making bad investments, bad decisions. This article comes from Forbes, from Paul Tassi. Before I get to this article, if you like what we do here, please make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're looking for 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, we like to get you as a member as little as $5. All our content is free, and we're here Monday through Thursday in the mornings from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. So, all right, so PlayStation is making a bad investment, bad decisions, according to Paul Tassi. Sony's PlayStation is extremely good at two things: making a console people want to buy and having the devs that make great single-player games for that console. This has been consistent for generations now, but in 2023, Sony no longer believes it to be enough. Game budgets are ballooning, and these games can't just be good. They have to be mega hits. So the company is looking to expand the numbers of ways beyond this formula. Unfortunately, it always feels like it's missing the mark in terms of product, in terms of genre investment, and in terms of acquisition, in terms of use of time and resources. To be absolutely clear, Sony's devs are still killing it, and when it comes to producing the kind of quality first-party offerings the brand is known for: God of War, Ragnarok, Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, Marvel Spider-Man 2, easy Game of the Year contenders. Okay, building on the legacy of great games, there's rarely any doubt that Sony's Santa Monica, Insomniac, and Guerrilla, Sucker Punch, and Naughty Dog will deliver a good game. Microsoft, all its acquisitions, still can't say that. But for Sony itself, it's all over the place when it comes to other areas of the business. They have leaned hard into VR, selling two VR headsets now in the industry, and they also see slow growth in adoption of the tech. They're done well within the niche, and there's no indication of VR is going anywhere close to the mainstream, even after close to the decade now. And it feels like this is just a strange place to continue to sink so much blood and treasure. Now, similarly, Sony is also producing a handheld Q device, which will play PlayStation games via remote play, but that's it. It needs a Wi-Fi to work, and it will not play any games internally. It's third of the way of being Switch competitor, but stops well short of both of the system and the fully bringing back something like the Vita or PSP. Then we have a few PlayStation 5s, which will make it a disc drive optional, but somehow actually raises the overall price of the digital model indicated are the company, and then they also produce a Pro model later in the generation that really would not seem to need it. Now, that's just the hardware. However, another column of Sony's recent plans announced before Jim Ryan left was that it was making a huge pivot towards live multiplayer games. This was also increased the investment, so the live content was 60% of its budget. This is an effort to free themselves from making purely one-and-done single-player games, instead of wanting Fortnite, Apex, Warzone type of games that print money all year long. Now, they orchestrated this, and Sony bought Bungie for $3.7 billion, and Bungie has been running the Destiny franchise for a decade now, and the only successful live service PvP/PvE games on the market where so many competitors have failed. The idea that the Bungie would also teach other mostly single-player studios how to make a live service game, since they had done so well in the game, or in the genre, I should say. So far, that's not panned out at all. Despite some of the big Sony devs tasked with making some of the multiplayer games, the most prominent one, The Last of Us Factions, was looking over by Bungie and declared it not ready for prime time. The project has now seen resources away from it, and it's not clear if it will ever actually make it out. There's also a long history of talented single-player studios failing to branch out into live service games like Crystal Dynamics' Avengers, Gearbox Battleborn, and BioWare's Anthem. But Sony seems content to ignore all that, believe that they can do it differently. So far, that has not materialized. Now, Bungie itself has now started to flounder. This week brought a massive layoffs, and the company of Destiny 2 struggles after 7 years of existence, and especially bad expansion this year and uncertain future. It may be delaying both the next expansion and its next IP marathon, and Sony failed to secure any sort of exclusivity deal during the purchase, meaning all Bungie games from here will remain on multi-platforms. Finally, Sony went absolutely off the rails attempting to stop Microsoft from Activision Blizzard acquisition, hinging their argument on the idea that Microsoft would make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox and take away from a huge moneymaker from them. When the internal emails revealed that they did not believe that any such thing would actually happen, regulars did adopt many of the Sony's talking points. They were not good ones, and that the deal was gone through. Sony spent an enormous amount of time and money and reputation on the fight for nothing. Again, PlayStation is continuing to sell consoles and make great quality games, but all efforts outside of that late have felt like a string of poor decisions and poor investments. We'll see what happens in the next with these live service ambitions, but we feel like a larger public change may be coming. I mean, he makes some good points. He makes some really good points in the article about them struggling. And I've said this before, like, look, the New England Patriots in my lifetime are one of the most successful franchises in sports. Okay. Tom Brady has won 7 Super Bowls, almost won 9 or 10 actually, but the Eagles and the Giants floundered that for them for those 3 losses. But that's a decade. That's really hard to freaking do. To be on top all the time is really hard to do, right? So you look at the other teams that are coming out that are make it to the championship game and lose right before the World Series or right before the Super Bowl. It's really hard to stay. Now you're talking about just 3 players in this game, right? In football, there's, 32 teams, right? In other baseball or sports, there's a lot of teams fighting it out. In video games, there's 3. 3. So there's PlayStation, there's Microsoft, and there's Nintendo. We know Nintendo outsells everybody in software. We know that PlayStation outsells everybody in hardware. And then we have Xbox doesn't do any of that stuff with software or hardware. They're trying to make their own thing, but there's still 3 people in the game. That's soon to change, right? That's soon to change because of technology, because of cloud gaming, because of all these other people. It goes from 3, okay, to 7, right? Because now you have PlayStation, or you have Sony, you have Microsoft, you have Nintendo, you have Apple, you have Amazon, you have Google, and what's the last one I was thinking of? I'm trying to think of the last, I can't think of the last one. But there's 6 or 7 companies now to start to try to take the reins away from Sony. Sony is the best company right now, right? These are facts, right? They've been leading the industry for over a decade now in console sales and whatnot. So can they have a bad year? Yeah. Can they have a couple of bad years? Right? Right now, they haven't had a bad year. This is like the turning point of what, per se, what Paul's saying, that this could be bad for them by going to the games of service market, where they still do the first person, their first party, third person successful games like God of War, Last of Us. Maybe they bring back Uncharted or whatever. They make solid games. So could they knock down a notch or 2? Sure. I don't think that means that the company is going bankrupt and it's never going to succeed. I think they have to take risks. Sometimes you have to draft, and I know I'm doing sports analogies here, but sometimes you have to draft someone that you have 100%, like, you feel like this running back or this quarterback that we pick up is going to be the next franchise quarterback or the next franchise running back for us, and maybe we won't make it right now. But 3 years down the road, we're going to be set ourselves up to win some championships, right? So is PlayStation losing a notch? Maybe. But I don't think this is all hell break loose. Oh no, Sony's going down. It's the ship. It's the Titanic. No, I think this is a rebuilding type of thing. They're losing Jim Ryan. They got to put another person in there. That person's going to make some choices. Maybe they're already making those choices behind the scenes without us knowing, right? And they're gonna decide if this is right or wrong. This is why in short term they're making, 10 games in the next 3 years, right? And actually it's 4 years because last year they announced it, right? And this is why they're taking 60% of their budget to put it towards it, to take a risk, to take a chance, because if they do nothing and they just sit there and just keep making Uncharted's or Last of Us or God of War or Spider-Man, that's going to get pretty stale, right? And sure, they could still be number 1 in the market and still sell those consoles, but if you're not moving and progressing forward and adapting, then you're going to kill yourself. So Sony's making those choices right now. They're like, all right, this is what we got to do. This is what we have to try to adjust. It's a big risk, high reward. But if it works out for them, then they'll just fall a little bit, come back up, still making those rock solid first party title games. And then they might have some live service games to bring in that extra income for them to help them even grow more. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.